Hi Mudders, and welcome to the third video in our ongoing video series on stress. My name is Catherine Tabakian, and I'm the Graduate Assistant for the Office of Health and Wellness at Harvey Mudd College. These videos are made in collaboration between the Office of Health and Wellness and the Office of Academic Resources and Student Success. In our last video, we delved deeper into the biological mechanisms behind stress. We discussed the parts of the brain that drive our stress response and how stress is tied to an evolutionary survival mechanism known as the fight or flight response. We also discussed the model known as general adaptation syndrome, which describes how our body can become exhausted after long-term exposure to stressful circumstances. In this video, we'll be wrapping up this portion of the series by exploring some of the ways prolonged stress can affect our health and well-being. Afterwards, we will close out by offering some tips and insight on what we can do to curb these risks. As discussed in the last video, stress is an essential survival tool that human beings evolved to help navigate the world. But, if left unchecked, stress can also compromise our long-term health. Recall the exhaustion phase of general adaptation syndrome that we introduced in our last video. Long-term activation of the body's stress response pathway can deplete the body's natural resources and lead to suppressed immune system function, making you more susceptible to illness, heightened blood pressure and eventual chronic hypertension, cholesterol and heart disease. This stems from the increased release of fatty acids into the bloodstream, as well as a heightened risk of developing diabetes due to elevated glucose levels in the blood. Some studies done on animal models have even suggested that chronic stress can hasten the progression of certain cancerous tumors, though please take this one with a grain of salt. While a lot of these health risks may seem scary, ultimately, the question to ask is, does stress itself cause disease? Absolutely not. But stress can influence your body's state of health and can leave you more susceptible to certain viruses and bacteria by compromising your immune system's natural baseline functioning. Stress can even affect the progression of certain chronic diseases, such as diabetes, hypertension, and possibly even cancer. However, the point of this lesson is not to stress you out about stress. That would, of course, be counterproductive. Even knowing how dangerous prolonged stress can be, it's ridiculous to think that we can eliminate all stressful encounters from our lives. Remember, stress is a natural part of life and impossible to avoid. In this next section, we're going to explore some coping strategies to help you tackle stress when it inevitably does happen. Each of these recommendations are backed by scientific studies and empirical evidence, and can help prime your body to face stress in a much healthier way. Here's a non-comprehensive list of interventions you can use to ensure your body is ready to tackle stress head-on. You can start by making sure you're eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, and getting adequate sleep. A healthy body has the resources it needs to develop a healthy stress response and can counter the negative changes stress can have on our blood sugar and blood pressure. Try exploring well-known relaxation measures, such as yoga, deep breathing, or meditation, which have been proven to reverse levels of certain stress-related hormones in the body. Some even easier interventions include simply setting time aside for the things that make you happy. Be sure to take time for your hobbies, or take a break to re-watch a show or a movie you love, and spend time around friends and loved ones. Another useful coping strategy is to keep a journal of your thoughts. Self-reflection can help you learn to identify stressors. Being aware of what triggers stress and how you respond to it can help you avoid potentially stressful scenarios. Alternately, you can also keep a journal to reflect on positive facets in your life, focusing on what brings you happiness and meaning. In a similar vein, go out and volunteer. That feel-good boost you get from doing a good turn can actually boost dopamine levels in the brain. You may also want to prioritize, organize, and remove unnecessary tasks from your schedule. Focus on what you can control instead of what you cannot, and avoid unhealthy coping mechanisms such as alcohol, tobacco, drugs, or overeating. Such behaviors are only temporary solutions. Finally, if all else fails, seek professional help from a licensed therapist. As HMC students, you have access to a plethora of resources and free 24/7 access to health services through Montsor Counseling and the Timely Care app. If you take one thing away from this video, it's that cultivating healthy habits and coping systems will help you adapt to stress. This is a far more effective strategy than turning to stress management when times are tough. Instead of trying to strive for large sweeping changes, focus on taking baby steps and adopting a few of these interventions into your everyday life, building habits that'll eventually become second nature to you. Treat these recommendations and coping strategies as proactive prevention measures. Soon enough, you may find that your stress has become a little bit easier to handle. Thank you for taking the time to watch the first 3 videos in this series. We hope you are able to learn something new and can take some of these lessons to improve your own health. As always, you can contact the Office of Health and Wellness for more help and resources. In the next part of this series, Andrea from the Office of Academic Resources and Student Success will be offering tips on how to minimize stress when studying. Until then, thank you so much for watching.